Hello, cadets. Good evening. How are you all? Okay. You all can listen to me? Right. So, senior, give me the report. Flight A, senior. How many cadets have joined? Flight B,
10, sir. Out of 41, we have 18 cadets online.
only 18.
Yes, sir.
What about others? This is very bad. Flight B. Flight A, 20 cadets out of, again, I think somewhere around 40. It's just 50% of it. Flight C, Flight C, give me the report. Fifteen out of. Cadet Nia, 15 cadets out of how many? Yeah, 40. Seniors, just find out if others has certain issues in joining in or they're facing any issues, just let me know because they should not lose out the attendance as well as the lecture, right? Okay, so we are good to go for today's topic. Who is the training in charge today? So what is the topic for you all today? Anyone, any cadet can tell what is the topic? No one aware of it? Come on, interact with me. Until unless you tell me the topic, I'll not take this session. Ask your seniors and let me know the topic. Come on, quick. I'll give you 60 seconds. Come on, cadets. Give me the topic. None of you has the leadership skills. And to ask your seniors and let me know. Be fast, you're wasting my time. Okay, If you don't know, then I'll winding up class, so I'll give 0 attendance for everyone. Airmanship. Is it? Is it Sean? Is it airmanship? Okay. Okay, since you're told, then I'll go with airmanship. AC3. See, AC stands for air campaign. Okay. So air campaign, I leave it to you. You study it by yourself. It is a story where you can read and enjoy it. So I'll take you to the other topic, airmanship. I told you in the last class we have missed something. The slides were missing. So I retrieved it. So today we will talk about airmanship. So can anybody tell me what is airmanship is? Let's have an interactive session rather than me talking to a computer. So let us make some sense so that we are talking to each other, right? What is airmanship? Any idea? Anything? It's okay, whatever you know. Even if you don't know, tell me I don't know. I'm okay with that because you're all second years. Knowing about the rules of air, very good, Kirat Yasin. It's a rules to ensure flying in safe, rules to be followed for flight, safe flying. Very good. So you all are right. So airmanship stands for the rules and regulations to be followed in air as well as on the ground by aircraft and its crew and the members associated with that. Means all the authorities associated with that. So that we call it as airmanship. Like you all follow RTO rules, Road Public Transport. RTO stands for what? Road Transport Authority, right? Road Transport Authority is the one who decides the rules and regulations over the roads, how the vehicle should move, where exactly, whether to the right, left, then during turning, what are the rules, then zebra crossing, what are the rules. All these things are rules. Why? It is again to ensure the safety, right? In the same way, an aircraft and all its authorities and bodies should, obey the rules and regulations. So that we call it as the airmanship. Let us look into the definition of airmanship here. So I hope you all can see the screen. So airmanship is the study of rules and regulations which must be ensured both on ground and as well as in air to ensure the safety and proper discipline in flying. So who are all needs to take care of all these? All of them, everybody has to take care. There is air traffic control procedures. So it might be an including air traffic control procedures and other actions laid down. So it deals with emergencies and other contingencies. Okay. Now today in this session we will talk about all the definitions and the basic terminologies of this airmanship. So why this airmanship is important? So it is a kind of discipline which need to be followed, as I told before, by a pilot as well as the crew members. So the pilot as well as the crew members, whether on board or off board. On board means those who are in the aircraft, and off board means those who are on the ground. So that we call it as off board. So these crew members also need to follow the same standard procedures which are defined throughout the world by this aviation industry. So this helps, like this will be a kind of standard. Whereas the RTO rules are not standard. If you're seeing in the European countries, I'm not sure, maybe because I've seen in movies and all. So there will be driving on the right hand side, whereas we are on the left hand driving. In India, we drive on left, whereas the transport vehicles or the cars and everything will drive on right in the Western countries. So there is no standard procedure. So it depends. It is led to their own countries. Whereas aviation is not like that. So aviation throughout the world it is the same standard. It is the same standard which everyone has to follow, right? So it helps the pilot to know the procedures to be followed in emergency situations, and finally the airmen who studied in correct sense promotes the flight safety and prevents the aircraft accident. So basically it is to make sure that the aircrafts are safe when they are flying as well as in the land. So this is the basic setup of a aerodrome. So the basic definition of aerodrome goes like this. So it means it is an area on land or water. Aerodrome means it is an area. It might be on the land as well as on the water, which includes buildings, equipments, installations and equipments intended to be used wholly or partly for the arrival, departure and movement of aircraft. Means whatever related buildings are there with respect to aircraft arrival or departure or the movement. So these are all equipments or buildings or installations all together, and the area also together, call this as aerodrome. So now if you look into this, these dots here before this runway means on the either side of the runway for an aircraft to help the aircraft in approach in the sense when they are coming for landing. It's a technical word is approach. Okay, approach for landing or approaching. So then there is a certain kind of lighting is required. So these lighting markings are mentioned here as well as here. So that is the lighting marking, first one. Second is where this de-icing area or de-icing area. So this is mainly to exit or to join the runway. Then threshold point, third, these markings which are called as a threshold points, which indicates the start of the runway. Then fourth is these markings that we call it as EAPA markings, so where the threshold markings will be indicated. So these lines, these strips, 4 on this side and 4s on the other side, indicates the threshold marking, pre-threshold marking. Then runway designators. So there is certain number is given for each of these. What is this? Can you read and tell me, somebody? Somebody unmute your mic and tell me if you can see that.
We can, sir. Runway number 27 and 09.
What is this runway number?
09, sir.
09, sir.
And this one?
27, 27.
Very good. Are there, what is this 09 represents?
The heading, sir, the heading course.
It is represents the magnetic course of from the true north. It means you have to multiply by 10. Okay. So it means it is 90 degree, right? And this is 270 degree. So now they are 180 degree apart each other. Yes?
Yes, sir.
So if the aircraft is coming from this direction, it means they will see on their magnetic compass. For example, aircraft is coming like this, like this, like this, and they can see that they are coming in a 90 degree. And when the aircraft is coming from this direction, it means they can see on their compass 270 degrees. So for runway to identify that number, so that we call it as the runway designators. So this numbering is given for this, because suppose this aircraft is parked here, and now always an aircraft can take off in this direction, as well as aircraft can also take out from this direction. It means it can take off in this direction as well. Now ATC, based on the direction of wind, if you study the wind atmospheric conditions, then if I'm not wrong, morning the air usually it will come from east to west, and in the evening times and post afternoon the wind blows from west to east. If I'm not wrong, just correct me if I'm wrong. So it means the wind directions are not constant. And when an aircraft wants to take off, it has to go against the wind. It cannot go along the wind. Are you all with me? Did you understood what I'm telling?
Yes, sir.
So if I write here, for example, if I am writing here, if I write a diagram here, so this is my runway, and say assume that the wind is blowing in this direction. So this might be my, east, and this is my west, because definitely it has to be 180 degree apart. So now my aircraft has to take off in this direction, or it has to take off in this direction. Tell me, east to west or west to east?
From west to east, sir.
Exactly, because this is my air wind direction, which is flowing from east to west. So aircraft should come and join the runway like this. So now the aircraft is here. This is my aircraft, right? So now it has to take off in this direction because it has to go against the wind. Then only you will get the lift. Otherwise, if you go along the wind, what happens? You need longer runway to take off. Hope I am clear and you have understood it. Right? So always remember, that is why whenever ATC gives the clearance for takeoff, so it will tell, for example, this aircraft is parked here. So then ATC will give clearance for this aircraft for pushback and then taxiway. So it comes here and say this is my east and this is west. Now it has to go along with this. So now it will give the permission and tells that take off from 90 degrees or take off the runway number 09. So then what happens? The aircraft comes here and joins to the runway and stands here. Then it put at the full threshold and it will take off. Right? So that is why these numbering are very, very important. That is not only for takeoff, it also holds good the same definition for landing as well. Okay, let us see the other marking. So 6 is the center line. So you can see the center line marking here. And 7 is the touchdown threshold. So 7. So this is the thick. So these markings are the touchdown zones. And 8 is the aiming point. Then 9 is the threshold. So I told you this is threshold. So here also it's there. Here also it is the threshold. So 10 is the stop weight, means it cannot go beyond this. So this can go only beyond this if it lost the control, if any aircraft lost the control and so on. So 12 is the edge marking. So these markings. So these are also called as Affordee lines. These yellow lines at the corner, these are also called as Affordee lines. Means any pedestrian, if they are walking on this, they have to walk onto the offside of this yellow line. Here there is a yellow line, here there is yellow, not the center one. I'm talking about the extreme ends of center line. So any pedestrian, they have to walk on the other sides of this Affordee line. These are also called as Affordee lines. Then high speed, where is 13? Okay, so this is high speed way, and 14 is the helipad. Where is 14? So this is the helipad marking. So you all know this. So 15 and 16, 17, 18, these are the building setups, which indicates there is a, see, any aerodrome, any what is that we called aerodrome, it needs to have runway, it needs to have a taxi path, it needs to have a holding point, it needs to have hangars, it needs to have fire extinguishers, fire stations, it needs to have airline service, bus stops and taxi stands. So these are called taxi stands. Aircrafts are parked there, these are called as taxi stands. So these are what you see here, the road kind of thing. This technically it is called as taxiway. Okay, because aircrafts move in this taxiway to join to the runway, or after landing they exit the runway by using this taxiway and comes to this taxi stands. So hope you are clear with this diagram of aerodrome. So aerodrome, again, the definition should be very clear. It can be either on land as well as on the water, which includes buildings, installations and any equipments intended to use either wholly or partly for arrival, departure and movement of aircraft. Now I look into other terminologies. Airfield. What is airfield? What is aerodrome? This everything together is the aerodrome. Airfield means this runway. So this airfield refers to the area of land used for takeoff as well as landing of aircraft, excluding buildings and installations.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please tell me.
I have a doubt. What is the de-icing area in the before in the aerodrome? It was marked as number 2. What is de-icing area, sir?
De-icing area, okay. So de-icing area is, for example, you will go and join there for a takeoff, and the aircraft is going for takeoff. So maybe they can enter into this de-icing area. I'll get back to you very clearly. So as per my knowledge, de-icing area is similar to this path, the holding path. This is this is 11. 11 is what the holding position. So what happens when the aircraft gets the permission? Means when they are on the schedule and everything, and when the time comes, so they'll take permission for pushbacks. Pushback means they'll come here and they'll take clearance to go on taxi. Taxi means they will come here and they do not straight away come to runway. So they will come here and hold in this position. So this is called as holding position. So sometimes maybe they will come to this. I'll just get back to you. De-icing area. I'll look into that. Okay. So now coming to the airfield. Now airfield is only this part. The land which is used for takeoff and landing, that is airfield. Whereas aerodrome is the entire setup which we have talked about. Airport is again, it's a word which is used for aerodrome in a civil aviation terminology. Airport and aerodrome both are same, so it's a civilian word, and that is the the used in the defense and kind of things. Not defense, by the airport authorities. We as a common people, we call that as airport. Next, aircraft classification number. So aircraft classification number means based on the category of the aircraft. Aircrafts are given certain classification numbers based on their weight or its capacity. There are different criteria on which they are given with the gradings. Means with that grading, they are entitled to land on the particular runway or not. For example, if the the runway is not that strong, then a heavy transport aircraft cannot land on that because the aircraft classification number does not match with the load classification number. I will come to the load classification number in the next slide. Next, air route means in the last session I have shown you one video where they have shown you how the aircraft moves. There is a predefined path that is made. In that predefined path only the aircraft is supposed to move. Sorry, this is air report, right? Okay. I thought it is air path. So air report is passed during the course of the flight. This is to keep informing about the meteorological conditions. So whenever an aircraft is passing from one air traffic control center to another air traffic control center, so they will keep on passing the meteorological conditions to the pilot because that will help the pilot to maintain the altitude, pace, and everything. And or if there is any changes, they can do the changes with respect to altitude and other things. Next, coming to aerodrome reference point. So aerodrome reference point, I think I told you in the last class also. So it is, for example, it is the center of the runway. You can understand in simple words like that. So center of the runway means we are not marking in the center of the runway. For example, if I go to this previous slide, so assume that this is my center of the runway. I am not going to mark anything here, but I am going to mark somewhere at the side of this runway. For example, if I write here the diagram, sorry. This is my runway. These are my the initial thresholdings. There is another side of the thresholding markings. It's supposed to be 4 on each side, and this is the center line marking. Now, if this is the center of my runway, then I'm not going to mark anything on the runway. So what I'll do, I'll indicate here with a board indicating this is aerodrome reference point, ARP. I'll indicate this with aerodrome reference point. So if there are 2 runways with 45 degrees, then it comes in between the land area, not on the runway, but on the other side. That is the aerodrome reference point. That is very important. So that defines the area of the aerodrome. So in the last class, even I have told you, the area of the aerodrome is defined with respect to 1.5 nautical miles radius and with an altitude of 2000 feet. It means what? From this point, it means if I take the geographical area, then from this ARP point, the aerodrome area or the control area exists with a radius of 1.5 nautical miles. For example, if you take a local police station, what is the jurisdiction that they will have? How many kilometers of radius? If there is a police station somewhere, then they have certain kilometers of radius. So the areas around that radius, it comes under that police station. So likewise, this aerodrome authority has the radius of 1.5 nautical miles with respect to this ARP point. Here, and with an altitude of 2000 feet. Somebody is joining for class. All the flight brigades are late. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So from that ARP point, so this is the center, right? So what is the center of this aerodrome? Center of this aerodrome is the ARP point, at aerodrome reference point. So from that, with a radius of 1.5 nautical miles or 1.5 nautical miles of radius and with an altitude of 2000 feet. Any aircraft which flies beyond 2000 feet, it doesn't come under the jurisdiction of this aerodrome. That's it. As simple as that. Clear? Or any aircraft which is below 2000 feet but away 1.5 nautical miles, then again it doesn't come under this aerodrome control. Yeah. So whenever any aircraft comes under this aerodrome area or the region, then it has to bound to follow the rules and regulations which are issued by the ATC of this aerodrome. If this aerodrome says certain instructions to that aircraft, then it is bound. It has to follow that instructions. Now we look into air defense identification zones where the civil aircraft cannot fly. So no flights of aircraft of civil / military area or foreign designated within ASL. So penetrating into air defense identification zones, what are the restrictions? So these are the zones which are marked here, okay, which are shown on this map. So if they want to enter into this zone, then they have to take prior permission. Otherwise, they have to maintain certain distance from this zone. So how much distance? So 5 nautical mile radius from aerodrome reference point, ARP, with a vertical limit of 1000 feet AGL. What is AGL means? Above ground level of the aerodrome. See, there is a difference. Above ground level of the aerodrome and mean sea level of the aerodrome. These are different things, okay? Am I clear on this? So these are the different air defense identification zones. If the aircrafts want to enter this, they have to take prior permission. Otherwise, they are not supposed to enter. Means no civil or military aircraft supposed to enter this or foreign originated within this zone. And what is the distance that they have to maintain? That is 5 nautical mile radius from that aerodrome. For example, if there is aerodrome here, then they have to maintain a 5 nautical mile radius with an altitude of 1000 feet. They try to join. Okay. So anybody has any doubt so far? Can ask. So in the video which I have shown you in the last session, it is similar to that. So an aircraft has to follow the air route. So air route is already planned before the aircraft takeoff. So it is planned 24 hours before and circulated to the aerodrome and to the subsequent aerodrome authorities on the way. So then which path it is followed and what is the flight level that it's going to fly, everything has to be specified in that flight plan. Okay. So the basic definition of air route is the navigable airspace between the 2 points. Means if you're flying from point A to point B, then how you are flying, whether you're flying straight or going in a triangular or something like that, that has to be mentioned. Now, we look into the responsibilities of these advisory service and control centers. So there are 3 things: air traffic advisory service, air traffic control center, air traffic control clearance. We will see one by one. So air traffic advisory service comes into effect for the aircrafts which are flowing, which are flying through that aerodrome but doesn't come under the under the control area of that aerodrome. For example, these aircrafts are flying with IFR. We will talk about IFR as of now, don't worry. I will just tell the terminology of this. This is called as instrument flight routes. If any aircraft is flying with IFR plan, it means it is flying with instrument flight rule conditions outside the control area but within the advisory routes or advisory areas. Now, for example, if on the road, if we are talking about a 4-wheeler, if you are going from Mangalore to Bangalore, how do we go? If you want to go from Mangalore to Bangalore, then from Mangalore we'll go to BC Road. Then from BC Road we'll go to. Can anybody help me with this path? From BC Road, what is the next road? BC Road to Sakleshpur. Then from Sakleshpur, I think we go to Hassan. Then Hassan, then to Bangalore.
Kunigal, sir.
Kunigal. Okay, whatever. Kunigal, and then you will reach to Bangalore, right? So, in between points are what? My departure point is Bangalore. My destination is Bangalore, right? Let me write here. So this is my Bangalore and this is my destination Bangalore. So in between I am going through BC Road, then Sakleshpur, then Kunigal. So this is my departure aerodrome. This is my arrival aerodrome, means where I am going to arrive at. And these are in between aerodrome control centers where I am not going to land it. But the flight plan has to be given to all these control centers because I am going to follow this path. Can you help me with the other route? Any cadet?
Sir, from Mangalore to Moodbidre, then Dharmasthala,
Okay.
then Sakleshpur, then
Okay.
Hassan, then Kunigal, sir.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. Cadet, what's your name?
Sir, Cadet Akhilesh Herkal, sir.
Okay, Arkan. Thank you. So now there is a route A, there is a route B. Now, as we have seen in that previous video, this is a land route which you are talking. Assume this is also an air route which an aircraft is supposed to follow. Now, aircraft, if it goes from Mangalore to BC Road to then Sakleshpur, then Kunigal, Bangalore, then it saves the fuel, and this is the best optimal path. If this path is not available, if this ATC is down, then it has to go through the other way. But it is costly a little bit because it is going to take a little longer way, and then it is joining. So this is all comes under the flight plan, how you are going to move, like this or like this. Or if there is a congestion, already there are many aircraft which are flying through this, then you are supposed to fly through this. So the whole point is, the 2 points which I'm talking is this point and this point. Means you are flying from point A to point B. And in between, these are air traffic control, air traffic advisory service. So all these, what I have written here, these are ATS services. These are aerodrome control services centers, correct? But they are providing ATS service, air traffic advisory service. Sorry, ATAS. These are all providing only advisory, means they are giving advice. Okay, you entered here. Okay, here the class. So you are followed to this altitude, then this altitude, then like that. They are giving the instructions, only the aircraft which are flowing that conditions. Now, air traffic control center means air traffic control when it's come into effect. This is also aerodrome. This Mangalore is also an aerodrome. BC Road is also an aerodrome. But the roles get deferred. Why the roles get deferred? This is ATC. When ATC comes, when aircraft comes under ATC, when aircraft enters into a aerodrome control space, aerodrome control space means if it enters with a radius of, within a radius of 1.5 nautical miles and with an altitude of say 2000 feet, then it comes under the jurisdiction of that aerodrome ATC. If it is not falling under these conditions, then the air traffic advisory service comes into picture. I hope my conversation is making certain sense. Are you able to understand?
Yes, sir.
What about other cadets?
Yes, sir.
See, an aerodrome.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
sir.
See, an aerodrome has air traffic. An aerodrome has air traffic control system. They have air traffic advisory service. They have other services also. There are different departments. So now, which department controls which aircraft? It depends on what is the condition of aircraft. Whether the aircraft is going to land or take off, then ATC will take care of it. If aircraft is just passing through that aerodrome without entering that aerodrome area, then the air traffic advisory service take controls of it, like this, right? Okay. So what is this air traffic control centers? Now, air traffic advisory service, you have understood. So when an aircraft is flying through that aerodrome but not entering into that control area, so then all the necessary communication that takes place between the pilot and the ground station, that is, we call it as, that is taken care by air traffic advisory service. Air traffic control centers comes when the aircraft is on the land, means it is on the taxiway or runway, or it is coming to runway or taking off from the runway. And at such point, then air traffic controls comes into picture. Means air traffic controls gives a permission. Okay, runway is clear. This aircraft can go for takeoff. Yes, runway is clear. You are clear to land. Like these kind of conversations takes place between pilot and air traffic control centers. Or if aircraft got missed, then air traffic control center issues an alert message to search and rescue team. So that is also one of the responsibility of air traffic control. Clear? So then air traffic control clearance is authorization for aircraft to proceed under conditions as specified by air traffic control areas. So it is same as that, clear enough. See, from this diagram, what I have written, you can just replicate to that. This is ATC. Now what happened? The aircraft has just taken off. So now that is under ATC. But now it is not going to land at this point or this point or this point, but it is going to fly above these points. So then air traffic control centers will just give the advisory service to this aircraft throughout this path. And when it reaches its destination aerodrome, then ATC will take control of it. Yeah, that is how it works. And it uses the radar. So ATC use the radar and other techniques to be in touch and contact and to identify the aircraft. Sorry. Just a moment. Okay. So this is the path, different kinds of conventional path, then other kinds of paths and other things which are shown. Which I'll not go into much detail. The holding point, I'll just skip it. Yeah, heading. So sometimes what happens, the heading and the movement, the track may not be same. What happens is that if there are some crosswinds, then what happens if the wind, there are high winds which are flowing in this direction, so that will make the aircraft to little bit turn, but still they are going in the track position, which are in the black line. But the aircraft is pointing in a different direction. So it means their heading gets changes, but still they are moving in the right direction. It's a kind of a complicated thing. It is something like you have seen few buses which moves cross because their bearings or something assembly gets damaged. Hope you might have noticed on the roads. Very rarely you can find this. This you can find in trucks as well as especially in buses. Few buses. So where the bearing and they move cross, but they go straight, but you feel like the bus is cross. Have anyone noticed this? Cadets, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have experienced it with cycles, sir.
You experienced with cycle. Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Both, sir. The wind direction and the direction in which you are moving.
Wind direction when? Did you notice?
While boat.
Boat.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Fair enough. So this is basically what is heading? Heading is basically the aircraft which is pointing in the direction with respect to true north. This is called as heading. So this is the whatever the compass reading gives the heading. For example, if the compass shows 270 degree, it means the aircraft is pointing in 270 degree with respect to true north. But it is not necessary that it is exactly going in 270 degrees with respect to true north. It might be going in the other direction. Why is that happens? Because of crosswinds. The aircraft is cross. Can you see the video now? Or you are seeing the screen still? What do you see? You see my face?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my palm is cross, but if it goes vertically, it means what? It is pointing in 45 degrees, but it is moving upwards vertically. So this is something called the effect due to crosswind, which will happen in aircraft. It is pointing in 45 degrees, but what is happening? It is moving with 0 degree, right? Like this. So anyway, the definition of heading is in which direction the aircraft points, so that we call it as heading. So longitudinal axis. So basically the aircraft has 3 axes: longitudinal, lateral and yawing axis, or Z axis also we call. Now if we talk about certain standards, throughout the country, in the aviation sector, a standard is formed. A standard is formed and that is followed throughout the world. There is no difference in that. All the aircrafts has to follow the same standard. It is not like driving on road where India follows the left-hand driving, maybe European countries follow right-hand driving. It is not like that. In the aviations, everything is standard throughout the world. So now when we talk about the mean sea level pressure, then it is standardized to 1013.25 hectopascal, right? So this is the mean standard sea level. It means the pressure at the mean sea level will be at this. This is a standard which is defined throughout. Because the various readings and research has been done and they come to a conclusion that, okay, so at the sea level, the pressure will be this. Then density of the air is 1.22 kgs per meter cube and temperature will be 288.15 Kelvin and the speed of sound 340 meters per second and the ground and the gravity is 9.8 meters second square. Now, if you look into the lapse rate means the change in temperature and pressure as we go above or below. So, for every 1000 feet, there will be a change in 6.5 degrees. Or, sorry, 1.98 degrees Celsius change for every 1000 feet or 6.5 degrees per kilometer. So that is the standard change once again. For example, now if altitude changes by 1000 feet above or below, then temperature also changes. Means temperature effect also exists. That is of 1.98 degrees. These are all comes in your B certificate exam, so you should be sure. And pressure, it changes for every 30 feet, 1 millibar change. Okay. Now, what is the difference between height and altitude? Did I explain in the last class? That's
No.
okay, fine. But still, I would like to know from your side, what is the difference between height and altitude? Anyone?
Sir, altitude is from sea level.
Okay, fair enough. Then height?
Height from ground level, sir.
Okay, fine. Who is this?
Cadet Manish, sir.
Very good, Manish. For example, this is the land area. And this is the sea level, right? Now, as I told you before, mouse reversed. Okay. As I told you before, the pressure at the sea level is 1013.29, right? I'm not wrong. One 1013.25. This is 25. This is the pressure at this point. Now, the pressure, if it continues with respect to this, at this point, the pressure changes. The pressure drops. It might be 900 or say 950. If I measure at this point, then pressure might be say 900. Who is that trying to join at this point? I'll just finish off quickly. Now, the pressure over here is also remains to be same. Now, what happens if any aircraft, say if aircraft is there, all right, then if I am measuring with respect to this is called as altitude. If I measure with respect to this point, if the aircraft moves here, if I'm measuring with respect to this, then I'm measuring with respect to AGL. AGL means the actual ground level or the airfield ground level. So I'm measuring with respect to this. So this is called as height, h. If I measure this with respect to mean sea level, this is called again as altitude. So this is the difference between the altitude and height. Hope I am clear with this. So if you are measuring this with respect to sea level, or if you are measuring with AGL, then if you measure the distance from aircraft to ground with respect to AGL, then it is called as height. If you are measuring the aircraft with respect to mean sea level and the distance with aircraft, then that is called as altitude. So how do you going to understand whether it is an altitude or it is a height? So that is with respect to two factors. So that is called as QNH and QFE. These are the two standards again which we will use, which are used to set in our altimeter and which will give us the altitude with respect to the ground level or altitude with respect to mean sea level. Okay, we'll talk about these terms, don't worry. So I want to conclude with this slide because there are many topics again. So elevation. So what is the elevation? So now if you look into this diagram, this body is not on the water, not on the land. This is in space. So whenever any body is in the space, it is at certain degrees or altitude away. So if you measure with respect to this, it is certain degree away from the ground. So this point we call it as the elevation point. Okay. Altitude. And the flight level is another concept. I will take you to this flight level in the next class in detail. So just understand that the flight level is which an aircraft is supposed to understand, and it has to follow that flight levels. Clear? So I'm going to stop at this point. If you have any doubts with respect to this, please ask me. Otherwise, we will conclude this session. Any doubts, cadets? Any doubts so far? Okay, so these topics you have to be very clear because these are fundamentals. Once you are clear with these terminologies and what is what, then you can understand the higher topics. Right? This is what it comes in exam. In the next class, I will even discuss the distribution of marks, how it will come in the examination, and how you have to prepare for the examination. Right? Okay then. If there is nothing much, then I'll wind up my session today. So then we'll discuss in the next session.